Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT News, and with the World Championship just around the corner, all the teams that aren't going are probably already considering what their roster changes are going to look like when franchising happens in a couple of months' time. Sentinels almost guaranteed at this point to get a spot in franchising, but is Zellsis going to be a part of their plans going forward? ShahZaM has revealed the Zellsis is technically not part of Sentinels anymore, but they might still look to build around him next year. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. I've already upset the channel. Lots of new subs the last couple of days. Let's keep on going. First of all, I thought this is really cool actually, this kind of mural that was done here to, well, with the Paper X guys to celebrate VALORANT and, well, what's going on, because they, of course, are getting out there to, well, to Istanbul very soon indeed. They're not there yet, though. You can even see this here from Benkai, who's a, yes, still right now, I believe this is in Singapore. You can actually see the flag in the background, so that's pretty much a giveaway. But, yes, they're not out there yet. So interesting that some teams have already flown out to Istanbul to get some good practice in. Paper X and others have not done that yet, so right. Interesting question. I don't know if any teams actually in Istanbul, but plenty of teams are in Europe trying to get practice in ahead of Champions, because it's a rather big event. Some teams, the likes of OpTic, are going to get a relatively cheap place to stay in Poland for a couple of weeks and get some good practice in, ideally ahead of Champions. Other teams deciding to stay at home a little bit longer, but over the coming days, teams will be flying out there to get ready to go for Champions. Of course, the group stages start, I believe, on August the 31st, and then after about 9 or 10 days of competition in the group stages, they then get through to the playoffs, which starts, I believe, on the 9th maybe of September, and run through, I think, to the 19th. So that's the plan, and I guess, well, Paper X and Benkai and the boys are going to be out there sooner rather than later. This is also coming soon as well, though. Well, the new music video and the anthem, Fire Again, it's called. I think last year's one was pretty good. That's coming soon as well. This is kind of the cover art for it right here. So yeah, last year's one was pretty entertaining. There's another one, of course, on the way for this season as well at Champions. The other thing to talk about is, of course, we're going to dive into the franchising discussion. Now, Koi Esports, one of the kind of big name potential players in the European market for potential franchising in VALORANT next season, could well have got a rather big boost to this, possibly, because, well, as it's described right here, they're going to join forces with Rogue for the LEC. Now, that's the thing, right? LEC, VCT, relatively similar stuff. Now, if you get involved in the LEC, you're more than likely going to have a more favorable perception in terms of getting into franchising or partnerships next season. Is the likes of, TSM. They haven't really achieved that much in VALORANT, but given their history as an organization and what they've done in League of Legends, it makes sense that Riot are more than likely going to choose TSM to be a partner going into next season, if, of course, the financials and everything all checks out. So it's obviously an interesting one, but yeah, Koi, apparently, Spanish organization, may well get involved now because they've kind of got the LEC thing sorted out, even as Bo confirms here. This now greatly increases the chances of Koi making it into a mere partnerships, at least in his opinion. So might not be guaranteed. There are many options out there as well. I think there's a lot of even traditional football clubs that might be interested in getting involved in the partnerships. And we know that the plan is for this partnership league, there's going to be 10 teams. Although the organizations and the investors want 12 teams per league, it's probably going to stick as 10. I suppose we shall see. They have confirmed it and announced it as 10, so I kind of doubt they're going to change it now. But over the coming seasons, it will go from 10 to 11 to 12 and all the way up to 14 over the coming seasons. So organizations like Koi, if they build a good enough team and get through the Ascension Champions part, or get through Ascension effectively and win it, then they can qualify for their regional league. And if they do so, then maybe become one of the partner teams. That's one of the exciting things about the ecosystem that Riot are seemingly trying to foster here, is that even if you're not chosen to be a partner immediately, if you prove to be a good organization and a good team, you potentially can get partnership down the line, because it's not like you have to pay to get partnership. Like franchising, it's actually the other way around. So I think it's an interesting ecosystem, especially compared to what we see in other franchise leagues. This also from the Guards, because they're trying their best to prove, I suppose, on all fronts they have the resources to make this happen. They paid for the guys to go to the Rams game, thought was pretty cool, which obviously happens with a fair few organizations. But yes, many of these teams, the Guard included, have great connections, or even just are owned by the same owners that own traditional sports teams, therefore having a lot of money to spend, and just showing their resources to a certain degree to Riot that, okay, they mean business here in VALORANT. The Guard, I would like to see this organization get into partnership. I think that they have pretty much all that it takes, and they've also built a good roster. Didn't qualify in the end, of course, for Champions, but obviously the actual performance of the team is not necessarily the biggest factor here in determining which team gets into Champions. Now, 100 Thieves, we certainly do believe will be getting through, and of course, look, will 100 Thieves be making a change next year? That's a question as well. They will have options on the market. I do know that people mentioned the fact that B-Dog, for example, over from, Shopify Rebellion, I believe, as it is now, but formerly LG. B-Dog was a monster, right? Eventually, I think they lost to Sentinels, actually, to go out of the tournament moment in the losers round 1 there, but still, B-Dog, big name player. He's going to be a guy because Shopify Rebellion, LG, like they're not in franchising next season, so B-Dog is going to be a free agent. I know that some did say maybe B-Dog to 100 Thieves could be an option, but now they've won the LCQ, maybe that reduces the chances to a certain degree, and their team seems to like each other to such an extent they might well stick it out for next year, pretty much regardless of what happens at Champions. If they don't get a good result though, and upgrades are on the table on the market, as they will be, then you would think 100 Thieves maybe commit to do something just along those lines. Now, Zellsis and Sentinels are in a rather similar situation. They also have to consider what do they do next season, because there will be upgrades on the market for Sentinels. I don't know what they're going to do. Is ShahZaM going to stay? Like, you'd imagine that dappr's going to be there. TenZ is obviously going to be there as well. Things could, of course, change, and one of the big questions is Sick, right, on the bench right now. Of course, he's still taking a bit of a break. He came back briefly, it seemed, and he was kind of in some of the content that Sentinels did. He seemed to be making his return and was feeling better, but now he hasn't tweeted in about a month and a half still, so I'm still kind of wondering what exactly is going on there with Sick. Is he okay? Like, how's he feeling? I guess he's just taking some time off, but yeah, with any luck, Sick is going to be back in business for them next season. He confirmed a little bit ago that he's not going to be back anytime soon, but he is one of the key players and considerations for them also, especially when they kind of consider, okay, which other players do we want to build our team around? Now, Zellsis, of course, I think was a big factor in why they looked so good most recently at the LCQ. Yes, they came top 6 Sentinels, but I think that their kind of performance doesn't necessarily reflect their results, right? Even Asuna said yesterday from 100 Thieves, the Sentinels were pretty much the hardest matchup they played, despite, of course, Sentinels ending up top 6, losing to the 2 grand finalists in the end. So I'll share a couple of clips here where ShahZaM and Zellsis are talking about what's going on there internally, and ShahZaM confirming that Zellsis is technically no longer part of Sentinels. He was on a loan arrangement from version 1, and with the LCQ now over, therefore he's technically now a version 1 player again. Now, he might still be part of Sentinels kind of as a branding organization, streaming type stuff, but in terms of playing, he technically is now a version 1 guy again. Now look, will they bring him back next year anyway and keep the kind of loan arrangement going, or just straight up buy him out? That's a question they might want to consider.
Zellsis, he's still in Sen.
No.
No, he was on a loan. So Shadi was on a temporary contract, and then he was on a loan from V1. But to see who gets in franchising and then see how the future looks.
Hell yeah, bro.
Pretty great, pretty awful, honestly. Yes.
Why is he going awful, man?
I left B1. I left Sen. Or. We come back stronger. Am I still in Sen? Am I? Am I still in Sen? We're not leaving. We're not leaving. All right, make sure everyone's...
So all things considered, I would be surprised if they don't keep Zellsis next year. I think he's done a great job, not just for their brand, but also for their team. Like, his stats for the past 30 days are pretty good. We can see some of his recent matches, of course. I mean, they lost against the Guards. He was, second highest top fragger on the team, 55 and 59 on the KO. Of course, they played Shopify Rebellion. He was 42 and 38 over the series, pretty much the joint highest ACS on the team. And then the other game that they played against 100 Thieves, I think he was the second top guy again. Yeah, 55 and 54, just behind TenZ, right? So I think Zellsis, given his role, did a pretty stellar job in this team, to be honest, right? And of course, Sentinels as an organization, their results that he don't look quite so good. But of course, Zellsis on the team definitely, I think, made a big impact to this roster. So they've got some serious options to consider, Sentinels, what they do next year. I think one of the big ones really to me is ShahZaM actually going to stay? Is he going to retire and be a content creator? Does he want to stay? I'm guessing he does still want to compete. And if he does, that's probably you build around ShahZaM, TenZ, and I'm guessing try and get Sick back. And then honestly, I would keep Zellsis on the team. I think that's pretty much a surefire move that they should make. But then you've got to consider the Sick situation, the dapr situation, all of this type of stuff. And Shroud then is another big question. So to me, Shroud was pretty good for Sentinels. He did his job, but I don't think that necessarily going into next season, unless they want to keep him for content reasons, which might be understandable. But if they want to build the best possible roster, I think there will be upgrades out there for Shroud theoretically. Now look, if Shroud does still want to compete, where's he going to go as a result of that, right? So definitely tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you reckon Zellsis is going to stay on this team anyway? Because I kind of doubt they're going to keep the entirety of this roster, but I can see them keeping 3 or 4 maybe of this current team as it stands. And probably if they are going to do that, Zellsis should be one of them, given what he's kind of brought to the team and organization lately. I think since Zellsis joined, the team definitely seemed to turn a corner to a certain extent. Definitely tweet your thoughts on that one in the comment section below. Wanted to mention this as well before we close out the video. Yesterday we looked at numbers of kind of like total viewership, average viewership numbers for different teams. This though is the most watched Valorant teams. This I thought was pretty interesting because this is of course very well correlated to how far teams get in tournaments. If Sentinels have the best average viewership in North America, but don't get to any big tourneys, they're going to have less kind of average hours watched effectively. And this is pretty interesting because if you're a sponsor, these are the numbers that you quite like to see, right? If you're sponsoring a jersey or like a title sponsor for a team or whatever, then, this is the numbers you want to see. So OpTic topped the lot, right? With, of course, the most, I guess, matches played on the biggest stages, like louder up here as well. 26.3 million hours watched in 2022. Zeta Division, as maybe expected, FPX, Paper X. So just goes to show really that being a big name team with high average viewership is great, but if you can't deliver the results on the biggest stage, you actually don't have the most hours watched, which of course is another factor that sponsors and the like, and maybe Riot Games as well, will consider for franchising stuff. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tell us YouTube gods, this is a good video, and as like you should see it as well, and help grow the competitive Valorant community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.